Hi, welcome to Hope in the Light of Suicide. I'm Tammy White. I'm the founder of the Bobby White. That's just the way the day's gone. Founder of the Bobby White Foundation, and I'm here with.
That's what happens when you try to combine Bonni and Bobby. You get whatever you said. Whatever you said. You said, "Hi, good afternoon. I'm Bonni Snyder, your co-host." We've been having this has been a week. It's been a week. I'm excited for some of the things that we're going to talk about today before we get into the book. But yeah, it's been a day. It's been a day.
So, to kind of get back on track, we want to thank Rob and Cage and Dylan and John for giving us this platform to come and speak with you every week.
Couldn't do it without them.
Hardly. We know.
I mean, we could. It just wouldn't be as good.
It wouldn't be as cool.
Well, given the fact that none of us know how to operate the control
Don't know how to operate the controls. We still can't put our headpieces on. We do know how to take them off.
I think I can get them on. I think I've looked at it enough to where I can get the head. I could probably mic myself up and everything, but
maybe if we had to,
nothing would work. Nothing else would work.
Yeah, exactly. So, they're a huge part of this. So we always want to thank them because we don't roll the credits at the end of our show. So we want to get them credit at the beginning. And we want to thank you guys for always for tuning in and watching us and sharing us and liking us on Facebook and all the good things that you do.
And given the fact that we have, all of the new platforms. I mean, our Facebook page, the page that's dedicated to the show and everything else like that. And, I'm, like you, and I know you are too. I'm really excited on how, that platform just, expanded.
Right. Yeah. I was surprised. I can't even talk. Surprised and pleased.
I don't know what two words you're trying to combine now.
I don't know what I was doing that time. Anyways, and we always want to thank the Hilton Garden Inn for displaying our artwork out there that is for sale. And most of the pieces out there are donated to the foundation. So I still have the Art for Hope cards up there with QR code. I don't have it really linked to the website very well, but if you like something, you can always email or call me at the foundation and we can get you squared away. But it's a good place to view a bunch of the different artwork, both Florida art type artwork and some really cool abstract artwork. And we got our t-shirts, so you can always help support us with our t-shirts.
The t-shirts are amazing, just saying.
Yeah.
They're just amazing. We have, the crew neck for, or our men's style. And then we have our V-neck or the women's style, which is more the women's cut, in both designs. Our original logo and then the logo that tends to mirror the show.
Right.
A little more.
And that QR code will take you right to the t-shirt page.
You can also do Amazon Smile. Somebody did not silence her phone today. Sorry about that, folks. You have other ways that you can support us. If you're an Amazon shopper, you have the smile.amazon.com that you can use and doesn't cost you anything else. And we got another way that I want to say it might be just a this month kind of thing. For those of y'all that are on Facebook.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I
because you put a heart to it. One of your co-hosts has a birthday tomorrow, and she just happened to put on her Facebook page. For those of y'all who do Facebook, mind you. For your birthday, you can donate to this particular charity. so it's up there, and I don't do. Yeah, I'm going to disclose it's my birthday tomorrow. I think we kind of figured that out.
It's your birthday. Mine's in the summertime.
But yeah, I mean, I stopped over the years, like really like celebrating my birthday. Like my birthday used to be an all-out event only because my children planned these all-out events. Like a couple of years ago, my oldest son, drove in from Kansas to surprise me for my birthday. I didn't know that he was coming, but Patrick and Jean, Pat, and of course we know who Pat is, and Jean, my daughter, the three of them got together and plotted, this is when I'm going to get here. And I just remember, and like I said, I may have said this one time before, but the only difference, one of the main differences between Carl and Patrick is, Carl is a little bulkier, and he has, the longer, like his dreadlocks back in the day. And Patrick, it was always, very, clean, short, shorter, preferred the shorter haircut, and he's very manicured, mustache and beard, where, Carl's more, the bush. Mm-hmm. So, I used to tell people, I said, if you take 40 pounds off of Carl or you add 40 pounds to Patrick, I would have twins. But anyway, just remember waking up and, here's, I'm looking, trying to figure out why I'm seeing doubles. Like, guys, why are you doing this to me? I have really bad eyesight. I have bad eyesight to begin with. But anyway, long story short, they had come together. I was like, okay, Mom, we're going to do a complete birthday week. And, I was like, okay, I don't want to disappoint them. It was a blast, but going forward, it's like, what can I do for my birthday? I don't think I'll ever outgrow birthdays, but it's like, let me do something meaningful. And, so of course this year I picked the foundation as, my charity to donate to. So, hey, if you were going to go and buy me, diamonds and pearls and stuff like that, the money you were going to spend on that, just go to my page and donate it to the foundation.
And we would like that.
Yes, we would.
we would like
I mean,
that.
I'd like the diamonds and pearls, but I'd prefer that you give it to the foundation.
And we always appreciate that, and we appreciate anybody that does that for our foundation for their birthdays. We have several people that do that throughout the year for the foundation, and it's, we're always just so grateful for everything that anybody tries to do to help support us, and so that we can support you. But now, do we get to talk about the fun stuff?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Okay. We had mentioned last week, on last week's show, that we were going to kind of take a field trip. That's what I like to call them, field trips.
I love it.
And it was really kind of funny because we had mentioned, I think I had made the comment as something about how Greif was going to be exciting. And so anyways, we took our field trip, and we went to this Greif seminar Wednesday night that was at North Bay Community Church in Clearwater. And it was given by probably one of our most favorite Greif. There he is. Dr. Ellen Wolfelt. He did a free Greif seminar, and, he was just so awesome.
He was. I mean, as many of you guys, that have been with us since the beginning of the show, we, featured a couple of his books in the very, when we first started this.
This was the first one. And I think, I looked back, and I think, I tried to narrow it down. I think we began this book around episode 7.
Yeah, I said it was early. It was early in the show. But yeah, he... this was my takeaway from that seminar is, here you are, attending a seminar from someone who is, considered one of the experts in the field. Mm-hmm. And, he's, published, best-selling author, a couple of times over, has the center, in Colorado, and just, has traveled the world with, these seminars and his knowledge, about grief. And, sometimes when I go to these things, I think of, the speakers like, oh, they're going to be like totally unapproachable and, I'm up here and you guys are down here. And I remember when the individual who, was the head of the organization that sponsored it, and what was it, the
Curlew Hills Memorial Gardens.
Right.
Yeah, they sponsored it.
He was like, the seminar was, started at 7 and ended at 9. But anyway, they were like, we're going to take a break in the middle. And they said, feel free to come up and talk to him. And, you will find that he's very personable. And, like, okay. So, of course, Tammy and I were sitting back. We're sitting next to each other. And it's like, I hope we get to talk to him. I really hope we get to talk to him. And so at the break, we walked up to him and, we talked about how, we were honored to be there at the seminar. And, we told him about the show and that we used his book. And he was like, oh, my gosh, thank you very much. I'm glad that you guys are, using my book or you found the book useful. And, so it was a very nice conversation. It's almost like I was talking to, like, he was, like, we're having a conversation now.
Exactly, yeah.
And, we asked him, we said, hey, would you consider coming on the show? And, he was like,
I think he was open to it.
Yeah, he did. He, was like, he took our card, the card for the show. He gave us his card.
And I posted, I love the back of his card, because his card is big. And I don't remember if I gave that to Rob or not. I think I posted it on the Facebook. No, I didn't. It's on our Facebook page. I took a picture of the back of the card, and it's a little blurb from one of his books.
And, the other thing, too, what I liked is when we went into the second half of the seminar, and he was talking about, how people deal with grief and, like, making, I'm going to paraphrase here for a moment, but it's like understanding, the process and, doing things that matter. And, one of the things he said, he turns around and he looked at you and I and said, you two get it.
Yeah.
Like it's what you guys are doing. That's, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm sitting there and I was like, oh my gosh. And then the other thing that I loved is when he said, there is no such thing as closure.
That's my favorite part.
The only thing you, when he made the comment, the only thing you close are windows and doors. I was like,
oh, we looked at each other. It was like, oh my god.
And then he, like I just remember him, looking over in a direction, and I just, remember like mouthing to him, thank you. And he was like, you two get it, you guys get it.
Yeah, it was really cool because as he went on for the second half, after talking to us, he really referenced us and our cause, which was really, it was cool. It just shows he listened, and he understood what we were doing, and I liked it too when he started talking about suicide. And one of the things, we were sitting in the front row. And he said we were his A students because we were in the front row.
Exactly. I was just going to do that too. He was like, my star pupils.
So,
and that was before the seminar even started.
Yeah.
Like when he first walked in and he was like, 2 people sitting in the front row, my star pupils.
And so he got to his part where he was talking about suicide and suicide grief. And he went into, saying we don't say committed suicide anymore. We say died by suicide. And he was looking right at us, and we both just said thank you and clapped.
Yes, yeah.
It was, and he elaborated on that a lot, and it was just a really neat experience. And if he has written tons of books on grief. And you can order them directly from his bookstore. You can also get them on Amazon. I don't know if all of them are on Amazon or not, but some of his books are like grief specific. And he has a center in Fort Collins, Colorado called the Center for Loss and Life Transitions. And I'll put the, I haven't done it yet, but in the comments when the show airs, I'll put the website on there. It's the centerforloss.com. And you can order, like I said, you can order his books there, or some of these you can get off Amazon. But go to smile.amazon.com to get.
And I think for me, for my copy, I will.
Yeah, you remember to bring yours.
I will treasure. I mean, if my book, my copy of the book meant something to me before, it really means something now because he signed my book. I was like, I looked at him and I said, will you sign my book for me? And he was like, absolutely, and. I didn't think to send, Rob a picture of, where he signed the book. I know I have a copy of it somewhere. I mean, I know I have a photo of it on my phone because I pasted it to, put it on my page. But the fact that he signed the, my book.
I know. I was so. I don't get my book.
I was so tempted. I almost because I had two of the books in my bag, and I was going to bring them both. And I was like, I can't ask him to sign both of these. Had I been thinking,
I would have if I would have brought both of mine.
Well, of course, hindsight being 2020, what I would have done is had him sign both and said, "Okay, Tammy, give me your copy of this book, and because this one is signed for you, and then I'll take
trade.
Give me your unsigned copy." I might have to.
That would have been cool, but oh well, it'll all work out because. I did look up. There's a seminar that I've wanted to go out to his center to take, and it is for suicide loss survivors, and it's kind of twofold. It's to what is the term that he used? It's not only to help me process through my grief from a suicide loss, but to what is the term that he uses? I don't remember the term that he uses because it's not like counseling. You're kind of partnering with a person to walk through their grief with them. And it's a 4-day seminar out in Fort Collins, and he hadn't had it for the last couple of years because of COVID. And this is actually just the last few days he is starting to do his seminar tours that he hasn't been able to do since COVID. So, but I looked it up on his website, and because we had mentioned that to him too, 2022 is full, so we have to sign up for 2023. But I think it's going to work. I think that'll work out really good because I think it also gives, and I don't know how you feel about this, but this way I feel for myself, it gives me more time to continue processing where I'm at. And I came up with this really weird thing the other day, and I don't know why it popped into my head. In 2023, at the time of the seminar, I'll be 62 years old, and that's how old Bobby was when he died.
Oh, so some symbolism there. And it was funny because when we were talking about, wanting to go to that seminar, and he looked at us and he was like, well, come on out and bring, like, how did he say it? Bring your partner.
Because I had mentioned, I wanted to take your seminar for so long, and he's like, you need to do that. Bring her along with you.
And basically, like, now you got a sidekick to bring with you, or we have sidekicks to do. I think it would be, like I said, from what I got out of the seminar, there was so, I wanted to ask him, is he, some presenters will give you their PowerPoints afterwards, and I was so tempted to ask him, is this PowerPoint available for, we
review? We do have his email.
And we do have his email, so I can ask him. But, because there were a lot of points that he brought up that, some were in the book, but for this one, it wasn't. There was some things that I know were not in the book. Yeah.
The closure thing was one of them.
Yeah, the closure thing was not in the book. And the other thing that I found funny about what he was saying is like whenever he would do the comparison, to his brother, he's like when his father passed away, and his brother said something or other, and his mom, he was like, my brother, the one that's not a best-selling author or something like that.
Who has never, obviously, hasn't read my books.
He's never written one of my best-selling books, But, and again, the way he said it, it was not, like, he wasn't saying it in a way that,
Not in an arrogance.
he was, thank you, that's the perfect
no,
word.
it wasn't.
It was
Not
no
at all.
arrogance. I mean, he,
Not
like I
at
said,
all.
very, very, down to earth. Like some seminars you go and you're like,
Oh,
is
yeah.
it over yet? This was not one
No.
of them. This was, it was edge of my seat, kept me, I was
He kept
so
you engaged, yeah.
because he, in addition to, it was just kind of like what I liked his style because I know me when I'm doing my work, I'll have a PowerPoint up or a lesson plan. At the same time, being able to infuse, personal experiences in it, because it makes it more credible.
Well, it makes it more real, and people can relate more
Right.
to it. They can, even though your situation may be a bit different, it's still relatable. But yeah, it was funny when he was teasing on his brother with.
Yeah,
His mom would say something and call him up and say, your brother said this, or I should do this, and it's like, obviously he hasn't read one of my books.
I want to see if, of course I'm doing this here, I'm taking my glasses off because, well, I'm blind without them. There it is. I had taken, when he talked about the 6 central needs of mourning, that was like, I found myself needing to capture that slide because I found them to be really, I'd never looked at that before.
It's different than what he's had in the books,
It is. And then
at least the books that we've read.
Where he talked about practicing excellent self-care, and I was like, I didn't think about it until just now.
The nap one.
Because my supervisor, at my
Did you say something to her?
No, I just thought I will probably say something curious. So I was like, I'm going to show you this here. Because I went to this awesome seminar, and but he talked about self-care, and in it, this is from the expert himself. He was like, you need to take 2 to 3 naps a day. And I'm looking at this, and I was like, I'm not a nap I don't take naps. But I found myself like, oh, I am so taking and I love my supervisor. She's very, what's the word I want to look for? She's very caring, and, she, will be one to, kind of, lovingly be on you. Are you practicing self-care? Are you practicing self-care? Look, and I mean, she's like that with, I don't want to say it's exclusive to me, but I know my experience with her is one of, your productivity is always very high. This is always high, and I know that you're dedicated to the work, but I need you. You need to really make sure that you're taking time to take care of yourself. And I'm looking, and I was like, I know. Are you taking stuff? I'm like, hey, I went to the seminar. So I'm going to tell us, I went to the seminar on Greif. It's really, really good, and who the seminar was by. And he says, I need to take 2 to 3 naps a day. So can I use the couch in your office, to kind of crash out if I need to, Because Dr. Wolfelt said so.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it was really great. It was a great experience, and I look forward to hopefully. I'm not going to say hopefully. I look forward to attending the workshop in 2023. So, and it's something that we'll be able to bring to the foundation to add more services to the foundation when we go through this. I mean, we can still, and we've talked about it, the other suicide grief book that we have that he wrote, it's a book and a workbook, and I've gone like kind of halfway through it. We can still put that on, but I kind of feel like with us doing this right now, that if we just do this right now and then attend that workshop and then be able to bring it to the community at that point, it would be a really good thing.
Oh yeah.
Be a really good thing. So I'm excited about that. So, we always make plans for the future and how the foundation is going to grow and how we're going to be able to help the community and help other people that are dealing with the same thing. And it's going to be good. It's all going to be good.
Love our field trips. That's
that was a good one. That was a good one. That was a good one. Yeah. So we really want to thank too, North Bay Community Church for having him, and for Curlew Hills Memorial Gardens for sponsoring and bringing him to the community, because it's a great thing. And actually, a gal that I know that's in one of my networking groups, I was talking to her about him a few months ago, and she told me that he used to come down here once a year and do this. And I said, I'd never knew that. And when I got home that night after dropping you off, I had a text from her, and she had a link to this. And she goes, I hope you were able to go, because I hadn't spoken to her in a while. And so I was able to text her back. I just got home from the seminar.
And I think I heard him say, this was another one of the things that he said during the seminar, about, he says, it's nice to be, out and about again and doing these, seminars in person. What did he say? His wife, he's been married to his wife for, 40 years, I think it is, something like that.
Yeah, 30-some years, yeah.
Something like that. But anyway, it's like almost,
a while.
40, But anyway, what did he say? His wife looked at him and says, isn't it time for you to get back on the road again?
Yeah.
Isn't it time for you to get out again? Like, you haven't been done seminars in a while. It's time for you to go. And, he was like, I love my wife, he goes, I think this is one of the things that keeps our marriage going. I was like, I'm gone. I go and do seminars, and I come back, and, she likes me, but then I leave again, and, all is good with the world. And I know, he was, joking, kind of, but not. But it was his way of saying, how he really missed, being out and being able to do these things in person. And he was like, besides, we're in February, and he's in Florida in 70-degree weather. He goes,
yeah, you said it was like
Colorado. It was
1 degree.
He was like, it's 0 degrees in Colorado right now, so I'm really enjoying this. But I think it was a testament to, when he was saying his wife was like, isn't it time for you to get back on the road? How I'm going to presume his wife supports what he's doing and recognizes.
Well, and he said, remember, he said somebody had asked him, when he was going to retire, and he said he's never going to retire.
He will never retire.
Because this is his calling.
Yes.
And that's what he said. He said, I will never retire. He said, it's not anything else. This is my calling. This is what I have always felt. And he's not coming at this from just book knowledge. He mentioned at the very beginning that how this all started, which I knew something else about him, which I'll mention in just a second, but he lost his best friend to leukemia when he was 15 years old. And he was told, you'll have another best friend. And he has this thing that they were pushing down his feelings, pushing down his grief. And what he wants people to do is lift people up in their grief. And he wrote his first book when he was 19 years old. Around the time he was 43, I know that his best friend at that time was 43 years old. He was a doctor, doing very well, had a great practice, and he took his life. So when he is doing this, he's coming from experience also. Like, I mean, that's what we're doing.
Right, and I mean, the comical way that he put it, because he said, what was it, originally he was going to be an architect?
Yes.
And the way he sort of laughed, and he was like, I'm better suited for this. He goes, because, how did he put it? I can't draw. And, I guess some of the structures that he would put up, they probably would not stand or something
Yeah.
like that. But it was, it was very funny. I was like, it was funny how I wanted to be an architect and this was my calling. And, of course, anybody that's in a field that they're passionate, I didn't plan to be in mental health. So, if you'd asked me, when I was in, graduating from high school, what are you going to do? I was going to double major in education and law. Like, I was going to be in a courtroom somewhere. Look at what I'm doing now. But when when he was like, this is my calling, like I intended to do this, but I'm doing this. It's kind of where, I sat back, I was like, I had not considered doing this, being in mental health. But then as I sit back and I look at, of course, he's, a little more, I should say a little more, he's a lot more expert than I am. But yeah, when you look at, life experiences and how they guide you to what you're doing, and that becomes your passion. It's like I didn't think that I was going to end up where I ended up, but here I am, and I wouldn't change the path. And I think we said it, with you. You did not set out to, be here, but, here we are, and this is your passion.
When I got my master's degree in business management, it was, well, number one, it was for something to do because we were going through the recession back in 2008 to 10 or whatever. But it was more the business side. Never would I ever would imagine that I would start a nonprofit, run a 501c3, be doing what I'm doing now. Of course, nobody would really choose it, but it's what comes out of it.
Oh yeah.
It does, and it's just a natural kind of process for some people, And he started really young, but I'd certainly recommend going to his website, checking out the books that he has. Like I said, he's got specific books. Yeah,
Oh,
there.
there,
Rob's
yeah.
pulled up the website there. Go to what is it, bookstore on there. Yeah, and see, there's different, subject matters. He's got everything broken down. I mean, he has so many books that he has written, and I think that they'd be any of them would be very helpful for whatever type of grief you're dealing with.
Oh yeah.
I know that, I've, and we've gone through several books on grief. Every one of them are excellent, but his, when I first came across his books, they really, I don't know, they spoke to me a little bit more.
Well, the other thing too, when you're talking about his books, and it's watching, as Rob was scanning, or scrolling through the website and the bookstore, it made me think of, something else he said as he was talking grief and loss, when he talked about people who have lost their pets.
Mm-hmm.
And
he has a book for them.
Right, I looked at it, it's like he has a book specifically for, people.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me think of a good friend of mine. She and I completed our masters together. And she lost, her fur baby, Molly. And I was like, Molly was probably 15, 16. And I have a couple of friends, in that similar category who they don't have, they don't have human babies, they have fur babies. And another friend who we worked on our doctorates together. or we started the program, together. Um, she just brought home, her third fur baby. And I remember, she was talking about somebody said something to her about, why doesn't she have like children? I do.
Yeah.
I do. And I thought it was really, I really liked the idea that he incorporated that, grief and loss, or when we lose, a loved one, it is not always a loved one that walks on two legs.
Right. Yeah.
Unless it's a monkey or something like that, but it's not always a two-legged.
Yeah, so there's something for everybody there.
Yes.
Something for everybody. And if you have any questions about, the center, or, want to talk to us about, any of his books, just, you can email us, message us, call us. There's a million ways you can get a hold of us. And we'd be, happy to help guide you through. So that was just so exciting. It's kind of like, although, it makes me feel so good about to talk about him on this show today, because I woke up this morning and I really wasn't in that good of a mood, and I didn't know why. And I had WPBA this morning, which I'm a member under the foundation for the Tuesday morning group. And I was on my way, and I realized what it was. Today is the anniversary of my dad dying. And 5 weeks later is Bobby. And it's kind of weird. I really didn't grieve all that much for my dad. And so that's why it was kind of weird that I was kind of feeling that way this morning. But because I always have in my head, it's like, Dad died, 5 weeks later, Bobby died. By the time I got done with WPBA, I was good, because our producer was there. And John always is a little hyperactive.
A little.
But we did one-on-ones, and so we were talking together anyways, so it felt better. So.
And if you sit back and think about it, where you were like, I didn't really grieve my dad, but then it kind of hit you yesterday. That's the other thing too that Dr. Wolfelt had brought up about the fact that there's not a timeline. It's not like again.
And we said it all through.
Well, and he solidified it when he was like, the only thing you close are doors and windows.
Exactly.
And so,
yeah.
I think we tend to, I don't want to say accept more, because he did say each experience is different.
Right.
When I think of, losses through my life, it's like I could say the words, my grandfather, passed away. My grandmother passed away. This, friend, relative, or whatnot is dead. But I get hemmed up on those words when it comes to Pat. Or even, I'm even on the fence, when I quit it, with Aiden, as well. And again, like I said, this seminar just, it just resonated and hit on so many different, it fired on so many different cylinders that,
and like you said, it kind of, it solidified several different things that we've been saying, that we've gotten from his book, of course, and from the other books that we've been reviewing, and that it's like, yeah, we're doing it. It's the right track. It's that's it.
I love to me, I saw it as validation.
Yeah.
It's like, it's one thing to read it in a book. It's one thing to have a thought process in your head. For me, anyway, it takes it to a different, like the next level, to have somebody say it out loud and validate, like, what you're thinking. Again, it makes me think back, like, hey, Kira, that stuff I said to you was stupid. That was the dumbest stuff I ever said. And to hear someone say, correct, it was, I'm like, thank you. It's like, okay, I don't feel like dumb anymore.
Right.
But
Well, and when we told him we, went through his book for our show, he was just like, "Thank you for continuing the message," and it was like, "Yay!" That,
Yeah,
and that felt really good. That it was just like, that's what we're trying to do.
well, it's one of the things that if I were in his shoes and someone walked up to me and said, "Thank you," hey, I used your book. I'm doing this show, and I used your book in a few of my episodes. Kind of highlighted the book. Listening to when he said that this work that he does has purpose and meaning, and to find out that someone is using his book, basically, I look at it as, wow, my work is not in vain.
Right.
It has touched somebody. They're taking that, whether you want to call it that seed that I planted, or they're taking my work and using it, for for a greater good. And, like I said, those moments where I wish I had, like took a picture of his face and we're like, we used your book in our show, because we're like, I wonder if is he gonna fuss at us for using his book? And it's not that we're plagiarizing. I mean, with any book that, we use, we're like, this is the book that we're using.
Well, and when we're promoting each author, and just, his reaction was really, really sweet. It was, yeah. So, do we go to our book, the next book?
What
time?
we've got some time. We can put, like 10 minutes into this. Interestingly, it's like we always look at it. So we're going to go through this book and devote, the vast majority of the hour to the book. It's almost like we should have just devoted this hour to the seminar. We didn't know that, or did we know that we were going to just,
talk this long about it?
We're not scripted.
That's
no one's
true.
going to yell at us.
Well, we can continue. We can start our other chapter. This other chapter is kind of a long chapter, but it's not as long as really what I thought it was. There's a lot. She put a lot of homework into this one.
Well, and I think what I found with this chapter is it is a good. I don't want to call it segue, but then again, maybe I could. It's a good compliment. That's the better word that I would use to the seminar. Because it talks about
exactly.
rough roads ahead, where he says, where she says, I'm sorry, engaging with grief doesn't suddenly get easier. This is painful practice. This is work you're doing. None of this is easy. The challenge is to stay present in your heart, to your heart, and to your own deep self, even and especially when that self is in pain. And, when I read that, reading that on the heels of that, that seminar, it was like, oh my gosh, this makes, it's not that, to me, this would not have made sense on its own. However, to have two published authors, one, I'm not that familiar with her, but to have, arguably the expert in the field, say something, and then you read it again and you see it again. It's like, okay, you've got two people saying this. There's got to be,
Well, I think it kind of helps you. I can't even think of the word. What's the? It helps you bring it into yourself a little bit more. Assimilate. It helps you. I think it helps you assimilate it a little bit more, because it's, yeah, okay, we heard it at this seminar. A few days later, okay, now we're reading this, and it's like, because, I mean, they're kind of saying the same thing, but in two different ways. And some people can hear it better one way than they can hear it in another way.
I think the word I use in that is resonate.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, to me, it's like hearing Dr. Wolf said, you're like, okay, he has a lot of credibility.
Mm-hmm.
He said that, so it must be true. And then having somebody else say it, and it's like, oh, and she's saying it too. And I doubt I doubt if these people, you know, if Dr. Wolfelt and Megan Devine, you know, who's
I don't think they collaborated
you know,
with each other.
well, I mean, I don't know
But
if
they
it,
might.
well, I mean, I wasn't looking at it in terms of a collaboration. It's like, do they even know one another?
Right.
You know, because I mean, sometimes, you know, you're like, oh, I know who he or she is. I've gone to a seminar, or oh, I know who he or she is. I've, you know, read a couple of their books.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I don't know if this is the book or not. One of our books had, I don't think this was the one, had some of his books listed as resources.
mm-hmm.
I don't know if this, I don't know if this one has it or not. But I think she's got resources here too. I don't. Yeah, I don't think it was this one. Yeah, one of the other, I think it was the last book that we did.
Mm-hmm.
She listed several of his books and writings as resources. But at any rate, she says here, grief has some unfortunate side effects: anxiety, intrusive images, feeling like your emotions are too big to handle, sometimes known as emotional flooding, and sleep disturbances, just to name a few. And she breaks down some of these. One major one, and I think, I didn't have this in the beginning, I had it the last couple of years, is anxiety. Mm-hmm. And she says, do not hide your anxiety. I like this. Hiding your anxiety makes it shoot out sideways. Now, my anxiety, for the most part, it'll come like at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do anything about whatever the anxiety is about at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. At least I can't.
Okay.
But, and like I said, I didn't have it for the first couple of years. It was after I went through that first depression, 3 years into it.
And
2.5, 3 years
see,
into
and I'd be inclined to, you know, here we go again. Here we go again. This is me. I sometimes wonder, you know, when I hear someone say, I didn't feel anxiety, or I didn't feel, you know, or this didn't happen to me, you know, I sometimes asked, was it you didn't feel anxiety, or you didn't recognize what anxiety is? Because I know, on my journey, and then, of course, I shouldn't say of course, my own journeys, and when I'm working with other people, and, they'll say, well, I don't feel, because again, we use the word anxiety, and we start talking about it and processing it, and it's like, well, this is what I felt, and it's like, that's anxiety. That could be defined as anxiety. It's when, here when she, with this title, or the title of this particular paragraph, she's like, don't hide your anxiety. The other thing I took away from that is, am I hiding, and I don't mean, I specifically, are the emotions being hidden, or are we not seeing the emotion is there because either other emotions are more overwhelming, or we are calling an emotion this when it's really that?
Well, that, or if you've never had it prior to, would you recognize it sometimes?
Or I'm gonna change your statement just a little bit. You've had it, you don't recognize it, therefore you don't know how to name it. It's almost like, like take what you said. I've never had it before, so therefore I don't recognize it when it happens. And I would ask, or you've had it before, and no one's, either yourself or no one else has pointed out, this is what anxiety, or this is what that emotion.
I can see that happening. For me, I don't think that's what it is, because for me, it's like anxiety and depression. Those were two things that I've never dealt with. I mean, I've never had them per se in my life, even though I've gone through other traumatic events. But it wasn't until this one, and it wasn't right away, because I think you're in that fog and you're going through the motions.
Well, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I'm not going to indulge you, it's like, but however, I am going to say the issue that I run across with people when we're talking about, processing emotions, especially the negative ones, is one's interpretation. Mm-hmm. So like when I hear you say, this is not turning into a therapy session, mind you. When I hear you say, I've never experienced depression before until this, and I'm like, okay, you might not have experienced a deep depression like you did, before, the death of Michael or the death of Bobby. However, it's like the same thing like I do with anger, when it's like you have this umbrella, and I shouldn't say it's not my theory, it's somebody else's, and I just love it. Certain emotions are those umbrella emotions, so where it's like all of these things either become that one emotion of anger, or they are that emotion on a couple of different levels.
Okay, I have to rephrase my statement. Not about the depression part, but about the anxiety part. Okay, because this, just like with grief, every grief situation is different.
That's true.
Okay? So with my anxiety, because I hadn't had it in so long, this anxiety is much different than what I've ever had in the past.
Oh, and I agree with you 100%.
So now when you said that, and I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, oh no, wait a minute, that's not true. There were times, and then I remember the times. So it's just, and it manifested each time. Has manifested itself differently.
Exactly. Because I think, again, going back to anxiety, you ride a roller coaster for the first time. I love roller coasters. And, you get that, like, oh, I can't wait to get on this roller coaster. And people are like, well, is that excitement or whatnot? I was like, well, yeah, it's excitement. There's a smidge of anxiety mixed up in there, because especially if it's something that you've never experienced before. Right. What is this going to be like? But anyway, we got off on a tangent there, and
all right, and
we go down these rabbit holes. We go down these rabbit holes. But I think we'll probably wrap up this chapter here, because I think to try and get into it is not going to do the chapter like a whole lot of justice.
No, we'll get into it more next week, and I'm also, she doesn't have anything. There's nothing on the website workbook for this chapter, but there is for the next chapter. But I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the comments on the Facebook page to the site to get to the resources, so that just in case you have the book or you still want to get the book, you can use that QR code right there, and it'll take you right to Amazon to purchase the book, and then you can go through it with us, and you'll have the links. The link is in the book, but I'm gonna put it on there anyways.
I think it's important, what she says, regardless of what the emotion is, And I'm sure we'll end picking up there where she says, show it some respect. Show your emotions respect. Acknowledge that they are there. It even, Dr. Wolfelt said it, at the seminar. So many times people tell you to, shelve the emotions or don't feel like that. You got to have closure.
No, we
And
learned that's only for doors and windows.
That's only for doors and windows.
So we want you to remember to put the national prevention hotlines in your phone. If Rob can pull those up for us. There's help out there. If you know anybody that's struggling, that's a quick way to get to people in this summer. That 800 number is going to be changed to a 3-digit number, 988, and as soon as we have the date, we'll be letting everybody know. And we have a PAR positive quote for this week. You want to read it?
Perhaps they are not the stars in the sky, but rather openings where loved ones shine down to let us know they are happy. And I picked that one because, and it was funny, we were in your truck. I was like, "You got the quote this week?" And I was like, "That's right, I do. Let me send it to you now so I don't forget." But I thought it was a good reminder, to let us know that our loved ones are gone, but they're still always, with us, and they're always smiling down.
Look up at the sky and look at the stars.
And there they are.
And remember, there's always hope. Thank you.